So this is part of the area that was in the Gabrielino Tongva Indian domain. This used to be known as Mokokowenga Canyon, now called Western Canyon. Supposedly, down at the base of the canyon was a tribal meeting place for local tribes that lived around. Local groups would meet down a little hill down at the bottom of the canyon. Of course, we know what happened all through the colonization of the area and so on. Griffith bought the old ranch here, gave it to the city. In 1914, the local ranger began to plant ferns and landscape this lower canyon here. And it quickly became famous as really one of the most beautiful spots in Los Angeles. It was a real gem of the city, and it was a frequent spot for filming, among other things. Even into the 70s, lots of films have been done here. There were hundreds of species of ferns growing in Fern Dell. In the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps did additional work here with more of the concrete and trails and so on, and bridges that they put in. Then the whole area went through suffered a lot in the 60s and 70s. Ferns became very popular as people would come and steal the ferns from the area. And then Proposition 13 led to a huge drop in revenue, so they stopped maintaining the whole thing, and it just all fell apart, unfortunately. There was a lot of crime of one variety or another, and the whole place just fell apart. Fortunately, in the 80s, there was a concerted effort of city elders and concerned citizens to revitalize it and put it back together. And now there's a very active Friends of Griffith Park that have been working on it, and it's not its former splendor, but it's really still a very nice area. One of the things that it shows us is how, what we'll see today is where we are right now is a relatively natural spot. This is much like it might have looked like 100, 200 years ago. Obviously, when we get down in Fern Dell, it's a very manufactured landscape, but it's still very beautiful, and it kind of shows what the potential is for other areas in Los Angeles that are currently concrete lined ditches, of possible ways that they could be likewise re-engineered, opened up, and made into both natural places for our wilderness, flora and fauna, and for the citizens to enjoy nature. So that's what we'll be seeing today. The contrast between the natural and the renaturalized. And we'll also be going up onto the hill near Griffith Park, so we can get a view of this whole watershed that's shown on the map. We are on this map. Where are we?
Okay.
We're up higher. See the Griffith Park Observatory there?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, here we are. We're right here.
You're looking at it upside
Yes,
down.
exactly. Yeah, so we're right up here.
Don't fall over.
So we'll be able to get a view of the whole area.
What is the green line?
The green line is the boundaries of the watershed.
Oh, okay.
So everything else from here goes into the LA River.
Okay.
And up here also is into the LA River. So this is
Okay,
all
everything that
Bayona.
So,
Now,
most
the LA
of
River wasn't the LA River. It was actually went into Bayona.
At times,
At some point, there was, I think, some earth movement, and it split the watershed.
what happened is this used to basically the LA basin used to be saturated with water. Although the rainfall we get is around 15 inches a year in the basin, up in the mountains, particularly up in the San Gabriel Mountains up higher, get twice that much. So the water was flowing through and soaking up the whole basin. So it was there were a lot of marshy areas through LA. People call it a desert, but it wasn't. It was marshy. There were sloughs and all kinds of wetlands all through the basin. And so there had been great floods. And it was in the 1830s, I think, that there was an enormous flood, and the LA River changed channels. and it had been previously going to the Biona through what's now the Biona Creek channel, and it's switched channels in a kind of it's kind of flat through here, and so it just switched off and took what's now our LA channel.
Which ends up at Long Beach.
That's right.
And-
Exactly.
So the only part that's above ground now is
Down below the Biona Creek.
down here, and
Yeah.
but water is still flowing through all these spaces in underground storm drains.
That's
that then
exactly
surfaces
right.
from the storm drains at
Yeah.
the beginning of here.
And you know
And
that down there at it can come out at 70,000 cubic feet a second. What we're proposing is, why let all that water go into the ocean? Why not instead capture it and make some parks along the way? We infiltrate all the water in a rainstorm, and we have a lot of fruit trees. And what it's shown me is that when you do things right and simply, what happens is that your trees are totally different than they were before. By encouraging people, one, to do the urban acupuncture, which Melanie is going to talk about on the bus tour. Two, we're going to be looking on the bus tour at some beautiful parks and examples of how to catch water, like Pan Pacific Park is a huge bowl that accumulates water. So there's going to be many opportunities where we can, one, beautify the city, two, capture water, and three, save all that pollution that's going into the ocean. So it's a win-win situation for the population, the wildlife, and the earth itself.